Awesome. Thanks so much, Leslie Ann. Moving on quickly, I would like to introduce Brianna Marbury, the Executive Director for the Interledger Foundation. Interledger is one of the technologies in the Mojaloop stack, and it's really great to have collaborators that we can hear from. So, Brianna, take it away.
Good morning. My name is Brianna Marbury. Thank you for the introduction, Simeon. I am the Executive Director of the Interledger Foundation. And here, before I get into what exactly the Interledger is, I want to tell the story of the need for Interledger. So here are the pictures of our two founders, Stefan Thomas and Eben Schwartz, who created the Interledger protocol while they were both working at Ripple some years ago. Stefan likes to tell a story about a time when he tried to pay an Airbnb vendor, but the time it took the person to receive the funds and after the fees that were taken out left the person with almost nothing. He saw the system as being very flawed, inefficient, and clunky. Me, myself, having worked in accounting and finance for years trying to make international payments, noticed the same issues when trying to pay people who were not in the same country as myself. So while they were working, they noticed that data networks are very interconnected, and they realized that it's easy to send data across the internet for fast and cheap, but sending payments across the internet was slow and clunky, and it was also expensive. So they set out to change that. So the Interledger protocol is an agnostic way to send payments across the internet. So what does that mean? Well, it just basically means that no matter what currency it's in, whether it's from a bank or a blockchain, as long as something is built on the Interledger protocol, you'll be able to exchange funds. A good example that I like to use is, say, if we went out to dinner and we were splitting the tab. If you had Venmo and I had Cash App, we would not be able to exchange funds unless one of us got the other's app. So if both of those apps was built on the Interledger protocol, that would not be an issue. This is especially helpful when trying to make cross-border payments where sometimes means of transactions isn't always available. The intent behind the Interledger protocol is to make sending money across the internet as easy as it is to send data. So when they started to build the project, they based it on the internet, which is why it's called Interledger, as in different ledgers that have the ability to connect to each other. They wanted the Interledger protocol to be neutral, meaning that it's not tied to any one company, currency, or network. It's interoperable so that it could be used across any type of ledger, even those that aren't necessarily built for interoperability. And they wanted it to be secure at the same time and maintain a user's privacy. They also built it so that senders, connectors, and receivers were protected from one another and isolated from risk associated with sending money across the internet. So I'm not going to go into like the nitty-gritty details of all of these layers because for the purposes of this discussion, and also I'm not an engineer, but I will say that you have a sender and a receiver, and in between there are connectors, and the money is sent via small packets across the internet. So instead of sending data like the internet, Interledger sends small packets of money. Here are a few of the use cases of the Interledger protocol. I heard one person say that it's like the Swiss Army knife of payments, which I thought was a really great way to describe it. So you have web monetization, digital wallets, and interoperability are three areas that we're really focusing on right now. So web monetization, a great way to kind of describe that is, say that you are a content creator, whether you have a blog or a YouTuber or influencer, Right now, the only way for you to get paid is to either have advertising on your website, which collects your users' data, or to use paywalls. What web monetization allows you to do is allows you to stream tiny packets of money into an account based on how long a person stays on your website. So the longer a person stays on your website and the more traffic you get, the more money you will get. So Coil uses this model. Cinnamon Video is very similar to YouTube, except for it's web monetized. Puma browser has web monetization built into its browser. And Imager Emerald also has web monetization when you're browsing. Then you have the digital wallets. You have Uphold and GateHub, which is built on the Interledger protocol. And then for interoperability, there you see Mojaloop Foundation, and that's how we're connected because Mojaloop runs on the Interledger protocol. So basically, Interledger and Mojaloop, BFFs, we're very interconnected. The Interledger Foundation was just founded in 2019, but actually got up and running in 2020. And so what we're focused on at the foundation is to be advocates and stewards of the Interledger protocol and get the word out to people about this life-changing technology. Similar to the Mojaloop Foundation, a big piece of our work is focused on gaining financial access to the and underbanked. And right now, our programs that we only have one program running, and that's Grant for the Web. And Grant for the Web is a $100 million grant that is for web monetization. So we have calls for proposals, we have curated grants, and we have ambassadors all working to get the word of web monetization out there and building on the protocol. So for our future programs, we really want to work with central banks and work with education institutions to try to continue to spread the word about the Interledger protocol. And I will stop there for any questions.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Brianna. If there are any questions, you might want to use the raise your hand function or post it in the chat, and we'll take it from there. I see one question from Eric. Go ahead, Eric. You might want to unmute first.
Yes, I'd like to ask how you see central banks embracing Interledger, and whether that would be one of the options for them. Do you see them now in the context of central bank digital currency adopting only Interledger as a possibility, or would they be combining it with other virtual currency or other approaches of payment altogether? Thank you.
Yeah, so hopefully it would be just one of the options that would be available for central banks. And the good thing about Interledger is that it's able to speak to other technology. So hopefully that is one thing that the central banks will adopt.
Eric, was your question answered, or do you want to have a follow-up?
That was good. Good answers. Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks. I see one. I think there was one other hand that was raised. Okay, I don't see any other questions. Brianna, do you want to wrap up?
Yeah, so thank you for this time. If you have any questions.
There's one question here. That's Michael Betson. Michael, go ahead and speak. You need to unmute first. You're still muted, Michael. There we go.
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm Michael Betson from Ghana. I've been following Mojaloop for a while now. That's not let's say for 3 months now. Mm-hmm. Okay, I've read about you guys, your use cases. But are you solely concerned about mobile money, or you're also gonna integrate crypto to also add to financial inclusion?
Is that a question for me or for Mojaloop?
It sounds like
it sounds like it's for anyone that can answer the question.
Brianna, I don't know if you want to answer that from the Interledger perspective on cryptocurrencies, and then I'll pass it over to Leslie to answer on behalf of the foundation.
No, you can pass it on.
All right, sure. Leslie, go ahead.
So I would start the conversation here by saying Mojaloop's design is fundamentally built on top of Interledger protocol. So the non-repudiation principles, the way we think about security, and the way that money moves is fundamentally based on this part of this is fundamentally at the core of what is going on. So the two are very interlinked. However, with financial inclusion in mind, where I start this conversation from is where we are today in the industry. Cash is king. And Mojaloop's vision is to move from cash towards digital payments. And that's in a regulated environment. So we focus at Mojaloop on how do we use Interledger protocol to help fiat currencies move. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that crypto is it's part of the ecosystem in general in the world. However, with financial inclusion in mind, we're helping customers with feature phones, thinking about their first smartphone purchase, be protected as they become financially included and get access to services. And so hence our focus right now is not on cryptocurrencies. Now, at a different level in the ecosystem, it's very possible that central bank digital currencies and cross-border trading and settlement mechanisms will become part of the story, which is why Interledger is really exciting to us potentially, and that it allows us to think about other mechanisms in the world. But at the customer end, we're very focused on fiat currency. Hopefully that's useful.
Thanks, Leslie. Michael?
Yes, please. Thank you.
All right. Excellent. I see a question from Rehan. Rehan, go ahead.
Yeah. So, pardon, this is my first interaction with Interledger. So the question is very basic. Using this technology, is there an impact on the end user as well? Does he or she feel a different experience while making payments or receiving payments? Or is this something, a more technical functionality which the banks and the fintechs would experience?
Yeah, so Interledger is designed to be simple. So you shouldn't feel like it's bothersome or it's more complicated. It is designed to be simple in mind. So say, for instance, if you were working with web monetization, it's everything is going on in the background. So the payments are being streamed in the background, and it's a very simple and easy process, and nothing that you would feel burdened by.
But would it provide a superior experience than what the customer would be experiencing right now for a system that is not using Interledger?
Is it worth me answering that with a financial inclusion Mojaloop lens on, Brianna?
You can, But before you do that, I want to say, for instance, if you're sending wires, cross-border payments, it should be actually an easier experience than if you were just sending it regular through banks. So that is the whole purpose of them designing the Interledger protocol, is because the payments were so clunky and inefficient that they wanted something that was easier and faster and cheaper to send. Leslie Ann?
So I'd reiterate on that. If you took it through the lens of Mowali, for example, Mowali is a cross-border payment service. However, the customer is a customer of Orange or a customer of MTN, and they might want to send money across borders. Now, the reality of the customer experience is held by Mowali and Orange, and by MTN and Orange. They own the customer relationship and they own the user experience of the customer. What Interledger has given Mojaloop as a foundation is a non-repudiation mechanism for B2B, so that we absolutely know how much money actually needs to move across borders. And we have a mechanism for quoting and settlement and checking of KYC rules and all these kind of things in the story. But that's a B2B and an AML and a KYC. And how do we solve the problems of why it takes a long time for money to move across borders? So at the customer side, the user experience is led by the company providing services to the customer. Mojaloop uses Interledger protocol in order to help those companies interact with each other.
Okay, thank you.
Brianna, I'll let you have the last word as we close out the session.
I'd just like to thank you, Simeon and Paula, for inviting me to this session. And please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your insights, Brianna. We really appreciate it.